So now we'll be taking questions from the Roundtable members. Let's start with Ati.
So first of all, thank you for being here. And then just want to ask you, you told us since a young age, since 2009, you've been participating and working with NCCT. So, and as a first year political science student, one of the things I would be asking, like, how did you find like academic side, like citations, articles and stuff like that? Like, how did that help you in, like, how did your research, like, how did research, I know the topic is not the most discussed online and most spoken about, and that's what we're trying to do right now, but like, how did you find the time? And especially since 2009, I felt like right now we've had more people, like, especially for me, like, you guys like have been there and like started things and like wrote stuff that we can use and build on. But for somebody who's just starting out when this thing just happened, like, I was wondering, really just like in my mind, I couldn't find a way to speak about it. So I was just thinking, like, how did you first start on like building your points, articles, learning how to write, constitute like proper like articles and stuff like that?
So you know, one of the things is, like, I would go a lot to my professors and I would bring up my issues, like, you know, like office hours. He's like, you're never here to ask questions about my class. You're always here talking about your Tamil people, and like, and they were so interested in it too, because they see the passion in you, and they see like a kid like that wants to change the world, so to speak, right? So they are like the biggest resources. Like, the teachers you see in your classes versus the teachers you see during office hours, there's two different people, right? So go to your office hours, sit with them and say, this is what I have. How do I look for this? What do I talk about this? Write up articles, write up papers, go to them, and like this was like external work, wasn't even about my class, right? And I would go to them and I'm like, so if I was to produce this to an MP, what do you think he would say? And my teacher would be like, well, you need citation in this and this. How? And then he will counter argue me, like, what makes you say that was a genocide? Do you know what a genocide is? Go research that up. Like, so they'll give me pointers to where to look at, and he's like, and then I took like Khmer Rouge, the Cambodian genocide, right? So when that happened, like, I was like, when I was studying that, my professor was like, okay, see, draw parallels to that versus this, you know, and then like that is how I started like building onto like how to present a case, how to ask for things. Because in 2009, like everything happened, and then 10, 11, 12, 13, the word Tamil genocide was like taboo, so to speak, because they're like civil war. And I'm like, no, genocide, right? And you had to stand strong. Like, not like now politicians, they come out and they vocally say Tamil genocide. Back in the day, we had to fight, like lobby for them to pronounce that word. And it was like, it was too much for them, because on an international platform, you say that, then you recognize it, right? And Canada was like, okay, wait, like, I need to look into this. So then when they look into this, you produce evidence, right? That's when you start like collecting victims' evidence and this and that, and like, you know, Channel 1, like everything they took, and then you put like you when they say no, don't take the no. Go again, knock on their door until they say, okay, fine, I'll look at it, you know, and then sit with them, give them, argue until they say, okay, fair enough, I see what you mean. It's literally that. Anything in life, the first time might not go your way, and it's okay, you know, as long as you know how to find different routes, find different ways, connect the dots, and like, and my professor and Miguel helped me a lot to do this work, and like more than my assignments. You know, they're like, so you need to focus on your assignments. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'll write something, I'll get it done. But it was like, it was always about this, that I utilized my education, my spare that I was in, to get the resources. And one of the professors said, like, when something like this happened, go back to like journals, like, you know, articles, or like interviews where they vocalize. And one of the things was like, you know, Black July, when that happened, the prime minister at that time openly said, the more Tamils I kill, the more Sinhala people will be happy, right? Like, that was huge. So he's like, this is perfect, like, take that and utilize that. Like, you know, this clearly shows the intent, right? So intent matters. So all that came through professors. So right now you're in that environment. You have like plenty of resources. Like, your professors, if I'm gonna go see them, I would have to like bombard them with email to get like 30 minutes. You walk into their office hours and you could say like, I have a question. This is my background. This is what's happening. What do you think about this? And they're so passionate. They'll sit down and they'll get things done with you. So utilize that. That's how I got it going.
Perfect. Thank you.
So thank you so much for sharing your experience. I did have a couple of questions, but first I want to start off with, it's nice to hear how much the Tamil community has got together, advocated for a lot of things. For example, just getting it recognized as Tamil Genocide. January being nationally recognized as Tamil Heritage Month is huge for the Tamil community. I didn't even know May 18th was recognized federally. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I didn't even know that, so that's also great to hear. Now, in 2025, what do you think the Tamil community should advocate for that would better the Tamil community or just show more awareness about the Tamil Genocide?
So now that we finally recognize and acknowledge something did happen, which is the Tamil Genocide, there's no question about it, then we want justice for that, right? Like, that's the next step. Like, what they did to us, it's atrocious. Like, they targeted us, cornered us, and killed us. Like, and they got away with it all these years, and people are still living with that wound, and there's still mothers, like, you know, the mothers of the disappeared still out there protesting, asking for their kids, like, are they alive? Well, you took them from us. What did you do to them? And no justice has been given to them either, right? So, like, next step with that being said is to held them accountable. So the perpetrators that did those acts needs to be held accountable, needs to be put on an international court, and the justice needs to be served. It might take years, but we need that, because that is the only way we could prevent this ever happening in the next, like, years to come to other communities. Because if genocide happens and we just watch it, we just let it go, and like we don't talk about it and we try to move on, it will happen again and again and again. It's only when you see the perpetrator being accountable and justice being served, then another country that's going to do the same thing is going to think, wait, that they went to jail, they got, you know, they had to face consequences. Do I want to be put in that position? Do I want to face those charges? And that is how you stop the generations of genocide to come. So next step is, it's International Criminal Court of Justice, right? Like, take it to the platform and the perpetrator to be charged, and for the people to finally have justice.
It's all right. I have a follow-up question. How should the Tamil community go about that? So I know there's advocating towards your MPs, advocating towards prime ministers, different community leaders, but what do you think is the best way to get to that point?
So, you know, one of the ways to get to the point, it's now looking into the legal system, right? As a Tamil community, like, we have so many lawyers, like, you know, in our community itself, right? So it's for us to utilize those resources, sit down and see how to build a case, right? What is the next step of, like, you want to take it to ICC, ICJ? Okay, Sri Lanka is not part of the Roman Statute. So what is, and then Myanmar wasn't either, but then they crossed borders, went to Bangladesh, and then Bangladesh was part of the Roman Statute. They're using that to see, there's always like turns and loopholes to get it around. So we could say, okay, like, can this be applied for us? Like, is there another way to get there? Or is it ICJ that we need to go? So this discussion has to happen in order for us to know what are the next steps, right? Like, and when you come to these discussions, it's important to leave your ego aside, right? Like, you come here and you have to be like, I know nothing, let me learn. Mm-hmm. And you could be an expert, and you could be international criminal lawyer, it doesn't matter, because a kid that's like in grade 5 could give me an idea that would be like, boom, I never thought of that, right? Like, you are never too smart and another person's never too, like, not dumb, so to speak, right? Like, you have to come to the table and say, okay, let's hear it. And you have to come and not say, this is the only way. Mm-hmm. You have to have an open vision for every possible way, because we need all the ways to get to that one destination.
So thank you again for being here. I was just curious about how you found the difference in yourself before you recognized your generational trauma and after you recognized your generational trauma.
So I'm more calm. Before, I used to, like, it was always like a defense mechanism, right? It's like the world is out to get me and I need to defend myself. That's how I saw the world, so to speak, right? So prior to that, I only had two emotions. Either I was like happy or I'm angry, but there's no sadness. During high school, like I don't cry. I will yell. I would throw fits. Like that was my way. And like in 2009, I remember like going to the elderlies in my community, and I said, "Oh, this is your fault. You guys should have like engaged in politics. They know nothing of us." Like, I was like losing it. And they're like, "Subi, like, this is not the time." And I'm like, "No." And I'm like, "What's the point? They don't care. Look, all these people yelling, they don't care." Like that was my way of reacting, versus now I would have sat them down and be like, "Okay, like you guys did the best you can according to the knowledge you guys had. I get it, but like let's redo this properly." So the calmness in me, the understanding, like all of that like came with maturity and understanding the trauma that I faced, because then I understood they did their best too, right? It's like I can't just point fingers and be like, "You did this, you did that." Like, no, like they did the best they can with what they knew. So I think it made me a better human, like so to speak. Also, like, in the past, I had a hard time accepting love. I had a hard, like when someone is like too lovey-dovey, I'm like, "Ugh, like that's not cool. Like what was wrong with you? Like why are you like that?" Like I was too cool for everything. Now I'm like, I welcome love. I'm very like, like I express my feelings to my friends. I'm like, "Oh my god, I missed you so much." Back then I'm like, yeah, it's kind of long, no, I didn't see you. Like it was that kind of attitude, right? So even with my mom, like me and her, we don't hug. We like, even hugging for her is still awkward, but I go and I smuggle her. I'm like, "Come here," and she's like, "Budadi," and then I'm like, "Come here." So it's like, you become that person. You're more open, you're more understanding. Nothing really I don't take anything personal anymore, like in that sense. I understand, okay, for them to act this way, they had their reasons, and most importantly, I forgave myself for the ways I acted towards certain people in my life, right? That's important, because I wasn't perfect. I did my fair share of like damages, because damages was done to me, did damages to some people that didn't deserve it, right? And especially like when someone shows you so much love, you become possessive because something you never had. And then you're like, "Oh my god, I want you all for myself." Like, and that's suffocating, right? So you learn along the way that like, no, love is abundance, and it starts within you. And when you understand that, you never want to hold anything too close. You want to leave them, like let them be free, right? So that's what therapy does, and that's what like the whole process of healing does to you. You're more happier, you're more easygoing, you're more like flexible, and life is just easier that way.
That's
so cute.
So wait, first I would like to say like thank you so much for coming here. I can vouch for Subi in the sense that growing up, if I called her, if I texted her, she'd be the first one waiting to help me. And at this point, she's my sister. I literally say that she's my sister. And I would say she's my twin. I always wanted to be like her. I guess I'm trying to be like her all the time. But
I like, you're the upgraded version.
No, oh, that's really an honor. In the context of Tamil Genocide and our parents fleeing and trying to find a safe place, sometimes do you feel, I've seen cases where sometimes parents find a safe place through their children.
Yes.
And how do you feel about that? Like, did you ever feel like, since your mom, like as you mentioned, she was in the hospital, she was giving birth to you and it was getting bombs at the same time, did you ever feel like you had certain family members that actually saw that safe place through you?
Yeah, like, for my mom, I became her safe heaven, right? I became her purpose other than Tamilulam, right? So and that put a lot of pressure on me, because she would always be like, like, you have to study, you have to get the 90s. And me, I didn't care about school. I was like, I love sports. Like, you put me on the field, I'll be there for hours, but then you put me in a classroom, I'm like, like my mom was like always crying, and she would be like, she'll tell me this, like, you don't know how many people would love to have your opportunity. Like, you don't understand the value of what you have here, like what Canada has offered you. Like you don't understand your sisters and brothers. Like, she always calls the people back home my sisters and brothers. So she's like, your sisters and brothers over there, they died Like they didn't get the chance to go to school. They didn't get to have this life, and you do. So as much as she said it with good intentions, I always started feeling guilty the fact that I had this opportunity, and I always felt like I felt so short for every opportunity that I got, that I didn't live up to that I should have done more, that I was never good enough, that I always had to reach another, like, you know, a breach. Like I felt like I'm letting my people down. 2009 was like the ultimate, like, oh my god, like this happened under my watch, I'm here and I'm doing nothing. Like, how am I supposed to get up and go to school and live a normal life when all this is happening back home? Like, that could have been me there. That could have been me that's like, that has to face all of this, right? So I felt like it was like a dumb luck that I got here, and like that I didn't deserve it, that, like, you know, that I felt guilty for every good thing that came to me. I felt so guilty that I get to experience it and my sister and brothers didn't. So
I just have one last question since we're on the mental health topic. Did you feel that the topic of seeking help and having labels was a major stigma, and how do you feel like it affects us today? I know as a child, when I was growing up, if therapy came up, even like learning disabilities, things like that, for us, since we're so used to going through the worst, those little things are like, you'll get over it, you'll get over it. Little things that I've noticed when I was growing up. So like, coming back to my question, did you ever feel like having those labels and like seeking help, was it a major stigma, like especially among our parents and our youth today?
So in that sense, I, like, as much as I lived in honestly, the refugee camp in Germany holds so much beautiful memories to me. As much as it was pretty much a container that you lived, like, my entire house was like from here to like where the camera is, a bit further down, and then the space was like all the way to the kitchen, like that, like even before that, right? It was, I had to, like, I remember you come in, there was my dad's bed here, the kitchen was here, and the bed is here. It's like just a box, but it held so much beautiful memories. And one of the things that I appreciate Germany, their mental health system was so good, like, was really advanced. Like, I had a social worker, as a psychiatrist, as a psychologist. My mom was like freaking out. She was like, yo, they think you're crazy. Like, you know, they think like, you know, like, and I'm like, I'm there, I'm like, no, mom, I'm good, you know, but like, they understood there's something happening within me, because I picked fights every lunch. For me, I would pick a fight. Like, you just took my ball, like, let's say someone threw the ball, I was going for it, you took it, that's it, I'm starting a fight. Like, that ball was mine. Like, you know, it's like always in a defense mechanism. And because I got those help, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, I got diagnosed with ADHD and hyperactivity. So for me, staying in a class, I'm always like this, and I'm always moving something. So like, for the teacher, I'm disturbing the class, or like I'll start like playing with your hair like this. Like, that was me in like elementary, right? Like, teacher had to like pull me, isolate me from the rest of the class, and put me on a corner. And then I felt like, oh, like, why am I not sitting there? Why am I so far away? Like, right? Like, so that was like, I always felt like, oh, how come I can't do this? How come they always punish me? How come, as a kid, you don't understand, right?
Those are labels, like, you grow up with, and like, and especially in our community, once you get that label where it's like, oh, you seek like mental health, that replaces your whole personality. It just becomes your whole label, right? Yeah. And I've seen this in many of, like, I've struggled with mental health. I've had family members that struggled with mental health, and we just see, like, the minute you have that label, that's it. It's like, when it's an ultimatum like that, where's the incentive to want to seek that mental health, to seek that help, be better for your children, right?
Yeah.
And those are things that are, like, I see that you're working towards by becoming a psychologist.
You know, one of the things my mom would do is she would do a lot of like fasting, like viradam, like she'll pray to the God and say like, oh, I hope, like, you know, she gets better grades, or her, you know, her ADHD or calms down, or this, you know. So they saw it as like a dysfunction, like something that was bad. And when my clients come and they tell me I have ADHD, I tell them, damn, you have superpowers, you know. And then they look at me like, no, I have ADHD. And I'm like, yeah, superpowers. And then they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, ADHD, you could hyperfocus. Like, the moment your brain decides, oh my god, I need to get this done, you will finish a paper within like seconds. brain like manages every information like no tomorrow. Like I know that because I have it. My papers are done like 2 hours before it's due, and it's like 10-page essays, and people do that for 2 weeks. I do that in 2 hours, but those 2 hours you come, I don't even know you're there. Like I'm like reading, writing, like I'm like hyper focused, right? After that I'm exhausted, my brain shuts down, I'll go home, I sleep for like the whole day next day. But that's how my brain is. So when I see my clients come, I don't let them label it in a negative way. I tell my kids like, you have superpowers. Like no one could do it the way you do it. Like I know you wait till last minute to do it, but you get it done, right? But let's just make sure you don't stress, the anxiety doesn't kick in, right? Like, and let's just make it in a pattern where you get to hyper focus whenever you want and not when anxiety kicks in. So let's work on that. But you know what? Keep the ADHD. It's not a bad thing, you know? So that's how I do my therapy sessions with my clients. Like I tell them every negative in your life, you could turn it into a positive. You just need to know how to maneuver it. So, you know, like I was like, dyslexia, yes, but then that also like, you know, like you write something wrong, people can read, I will read it because my brain is wired to read things that like wrongly written, you know? So like numbers, I was like, you know, I see numbers differently too, right? So it's like, it's everything I needed to work around, like, because like in high school, my friends, they would finish like their homeworks in like an hour. I would spend 5 hours doing the exact same homework. Come to university, that 5 hours that I've been practicing, I'm able to sit and do 5 hours of my assignments, of my readings. They only spent an hour doing it, and now when they have to do a homework for 5 hours, they can't. They're exhausted. They didn't train their mind to do that. So that's when the smart kids in high school come to university, they have a hard time keeping it up. And then the people that are like were not too smart, you see them excelling in universities because they learn the patterns of how to study.
Yeah.
So that's what it is, right? In life, anything negative happening to you, it is up to you to take it and change it into something positive.
I would even add that it's kind of like studying an algorithm when it comes to learning disabilities. It's like trying to like I'll look at it from a superpower point of view.
It is.
So it's very nice, optimistic, very optimistic.
You have to be.
I'll try to.
You're mentioning about how when people fear to be labeled with having a mental health disorder or disability of some form, they struggle to find the incentive to go and seek that help because of the fear of being labeled. I was wondering if you saw some links between that and how I guess our parents like never really facing the things that they have to face within themselves, within their families, within their peers, because of the label of that will come from society of being somebody who's you know bringing up these tough questions or I don't know like digging up things that should just be kept covered and move forward with.
It's kind of the mentality that it's in the past, let's not bring it up. Like there's a lot of that, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you from personal experience, growing up, I did have not immediate in my immediate family, but I did see in society in general that there was kind of a like no, I wouldn't even say a little hesitation, a big hesitation when it came to like, oh, like, do I have something? And if it wasn't physical, then it would just be ignored. Physical meaning like things to do with your body, not your mental health. Like if it went to that, like if it was to do with physical, then like people would take it seriously. But when it's like something mental health, they're like, oh, okay, let's not. I'm happy to know that I've helped my friends out in the sense of you're getting 1 symptom, 2 symptom, 3 symptom. Okay, let's not wait. Let's just do it right away. Like let's just get the check. It's not gonna hurt you. Like no one's gonna judge you. If people really care about you, if people really love you, they won't judge you. So why are you caring about people that don't genuinely care about you?
It's like you get a bump right away. You get tested to see if there's cancer cells or anything. You don't get judged for that. And even if you do get cancer, people are so empathetical. You know, they're all there for you. Like they're part of the fight that you go against it. But then when it comes to mental health, why don't we address it like that? It's to work around it. Like one of the movies, like a Beautiful Mind. It's called. that's the movie. Like it explains somewhat how a person could with schizophrenia can live and function and go on and be everything you want to be, right? It's a battle you have to face with yourself. Like it's your brain creating things that doesn't exist, and you have to always fact check, like, like, are you really there, or is it my brain creating you here, right? So it's like you can't even believe what you see and what it is out there. But then you will label that, oh my god, he's crazy, or like how can you live with someone like that? What if he's dangerous? Like, no, like it becomes that when it gets to a point that passes that threshold and they completely lose control.
Yeah.
But if you catch it earlier on, like life goes on, and like you could come out of it and even be stronger.
Exit rules, not a lot of light, and it's just like you have to go by here. And like my sister wants to take a walk, even if it's mid during the day, she's still scared.
Yeah.
She's like, no, we can't. If you're in the neighborhood, it's fine. Like, there's a lot of people who can see you, but if you're going to a place that nobody really sees, it's still scary.
Yeah.
My sister goes to school in downtown, yet my mom's scared of my sister walking in downtown.
Yeah.
So it's that aspect of her, like, inside, like, and I think that's, and it didn't apply to only to my sister. Like, I think it's really towards like my mom being a woman and seeing a younger version of a woman not wanting to have that fear growing up is a thing that she's trying to give to my sister. And that's the thing that me and her, we've grown to understand, that we have to understand that perspective for us, not only for us to move forward, but for my family to move forward. It's not only a thing of a single perspective.
And like there's like a huge disconnect from that generation to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
They lived in Ulam, a civil war, discrimination, this, that, and then we are born, like, you guys are born in Canada, and like safe space, like, like more open minded, like all of that. It's such a disconnect in that sense. They're still gonna behave like they're still in Ulam. They're programmed that way. They're wired in that sense because their defense mechanism is to protect you guys. So they will bring in all of that defense mechanism onto here with you and say like, oh, late I did the video like in Tamil like they're always kind of scared who is infiltrating, what's happening. And then here we are like looking at like, why is my mom so controlling? Why can't I live like my life the way I want to live? But if you really sit back and think about it, it's their way of protecting you, right? Like I had a friend saying like, oh, growing up to be like, my mom would compare me to all the other people, and like, and I felt like I never got the encouragement. And I said like, but that was her way of encouraging you. Even though it was not the right way, I'm not saying it was right, but for her saying like, oh, see, like they're doing well, you too, you need to do well, right? Like, because they didn't know any better way to do it. Like that's how it was done to them, right? So it's like, until we break it, like to our kids, I'm not gonna go like, oh, look at them, they're doing well. No, it's like, okay, what do you want to do? What makes you happy? Are you happy with the 70? Okay, like let's move forward, right? Like grades are not what's going to define you. Like you as a human, to build that's going to define you more later on. Like it's whenever you raise a kid, raise them in a way that like self-confidence, they believe in themselves, the resilience, you instill that, like they know who they are, they will come out of anything, right? So but they didn't know that, so yeah.
So
Your question.
Just to switch gears a little bit, when you're talking about when you got angry when you were younger, you spoke to like the elders that, okay, you're doing the wrong thing, that's not what you should be doing, you should be talking with like lawyers, for example, actually getting things done. I've been thinking the same in the past, and that kind of makes me who I am, where what do you think is more important? Like having that, like developing yourself to get to that position of power where you can actually make concrete change. Like for example, us having January recognized as Tamil Heritage Month. Yes, it's a little bit of lobbying, but it's primarily because like, the MP, Mr. Gary was able to actually advocate. Why? Because he brought himself up to that point of power, so he's actually able to make concrete change. Now, I do agree, protesting is important, lobbying is important, but in the end, it all comes down to is that person with power actually going to create that change? Because no matter what you protest, if that person doesn't change it, it's not going to change. So that asks me, what do you think is more important? The protesting on the street, lobbying, trying to like get your point across, or developing yourself first to bring yourself to that point of power and then actually making concrete change? Because for me, I feel like the second is the more important option, which is why I want, like with Don McGill, like try to give people opportunities that I never had so that they can actually grow themselves.
Right, so for example, when we protested, that was much needed, because imagine sitting home and hearing all this and watching, and you're just taking all that in, right? That 2009 protest was like, it's a collective movement. Like, you're screaming and you're yelling and you're crying, and you have a whole mass with you doing the same thing. So you have somewhere to go to ask for justice, which is so much of a healing process without them even knowing that, right? And because we did that, even the Gardner Express and all of it, it was the first time Canadian politics turned around and said, wow, these people are organized. How did you get this many people here? Like, how are they like this unified, right? Like, and that was also the day we got a slap on our face to say, we need one of us in there, right? Prior to that, we invite the MPs to our events. They come, they say vanakkam, and then we all clap hands like it's the end of the world. Like, they said they spoke our language, and then we're so happy that to put the medal to this. And then we work for their campaign, and we ask nothing in return, right? Like, that day was the first time the Tamil community asked something and didn't receive it, right? And like, meaning like they never asked anything prior to that, so much. So one time they asked, they didn't get it, and that's when they realized, okay, you know what? This is how it is. Like, we see what politics is for, right? And then you understand you have to build that relationship. You need to sit down with MPs. It's not just inviting them to events and then putting them a robe and like welcoming them, right? It's like, as much as you're there for them, they also need to be there for you. You sit down and you say, this is what I want in my community. And for like Gary Arnott to pass that bill, he needed the support of his caucus, right? His like other politician. And what do we do as an NCCT? We go and we sit down with like Salma, with like Sean Chen, like like these prominent members, Zamir, like we sit down with them and we advocate, and they also back Gary Arnott. Right, like, so that is also important as a community for us to play both roles. We need someone in the parliament, but we also need outside of the parliament that could sit with all levels of government, all parties, non-partisan, and lobby the right way, right? So, but you're absolutely right. Like, Vijay Tanigasan is a perfect example as well, right? Like Bill 104, he brought it in, and like he was able to like push it because he was in it. He had first-handedly a seat at the table and knew how to push that forward, right? So I say this to all the next generation, like in Quebec, we need to step up. Like, we need the next politicians to come in. Like, just like we have engineers, we have doctors, we have this, we have that, we need people in politics with the right intention for the greater good of the people, and understands what Quebec also needs, advocate for that as much as you advocate for other communities and for your communities. Like, you need to have that power for sure. Yeah.
I have something to add to that for your question, because I've been to protests, and like, now that I have more time, like now that I'm a master's student, like I'm trying to like engage more into like my own interests in like environmental justice and like Tamil justice and stuff. I think like change like comes, like, I guess your question is bottom up or top down.
Yeah.
Which way it goes, but I think you need it from both ways to come up, because how will like the people at the top know what needs to be done if the people at the bottom are quiet?
Correct.
So you need and how will you climb up to the top if you don't even know what's happening at the bottom?
Exactly.
So I think like you need to like have your foundations first, and if you're up for it, and if you're strong enough and like passionate enough and like able to do it, go up to the top. And if you don't want to be that person, do your best to like make the bottom strong. Because like, for example, like the changes that you're saying, I remember when it was peak COVID, I think like 2022, there was, I forget her name, but there was a lot of movements actually happening within the Tamil community, like internationally. Someone was actually like on hunger strike for a few days. I don't know if you remember, maybe
2009?
No, it was 2022. it was recent.
2022.
2021, 2022-ish in London.
Asian London, like in London.
In
Oh,
London.
was it
Oh,
an
right.
oldie?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
And the old,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like that sparked so much movement across like across the bottom, so to speak, like us here, like just the regular people. And I think like tying that to what you were saying, like when you go to protests as a Tamil kid, it is the most freeing thing ever. Like you feel such a load released off of your shoulders. I think especially for our age group, because we weren't old enough in 2009 to yell and scream. I was wearing a Dora jacket, I'm pretty sure. And like we didn't know why we were there, but to be able to like ask for things and like scream and like ask for justice now, for it's kind of like like seeking reparations that you couldn't do for yourself. So I would actually like I would add on. I would bring hers in and say both.
It is very important to stay relevant, and it's also important to have someone on the inside. But it doesn't mean that person in power has to be an MP. It can also be a close friend of an MP. It could be a close companion, a colleague, a university. If you guys went to university together, like let's say Akash becomes an MP, we're friends right now. Well, we don't know. Imagine he becomes an MP. I'm his friend. I can always ask him, hey, remember that time where we did a roundtable when we talked about these things, when we talked about things that we care about the most. People were friends, people went to school together, people know each other. That's why it's so important as a youth to build our network now.
Yeah.
And,
Build your relationships.
And and also it's important to stay relevant with protests and advocacy. That's my 2 cents.
Like even the UN, right? Tamil Genocide took place 2009. We're like 2025, right? Like it's been years. If we don't go, like the reason why we go every session and we meet up with all the ambassadors and we meet up with the core group and we meet up with the UN advocacy team as well. All of that. Why? Because that is why keeps the Tamil genocide on the table still. If no Tamil people were showing up, no advocacy has been done, they will pass a referendum and then they'll pass they'll pass the resolution and then and then the government never ever met the resolution whatsoever. Change of government. Every government that came completely dismissed all the resolution passed by the UN. So what would they done? They'll be like, okay, well we tried, like boom, off the case, right? But what do? We say, I know it's been a while, like I know, like it happened years ago, but what happened as like what was the precaution of it? Like what was the result of all your resolution, everything that we did? Like UN asked this, was it met? If it was met, okay, we'll drop it. But it was not met. So until it's not met, how can you take it down? Mm-hmm. That's you completely saying, because it's been years, what, we're gonna forget that a genocide happened? Like, no, until we don't get the right response, you can't take it off the table. This is literally what we fight for every single time at the UN. With the core group, it's always like, we don't have the budget, we have to take it down. And we're like, no, we don't. Until like they don't meet it, you guys have to back it up. Mm-hmm. And that's what the advocacy team is so important, because you need people that make time, that have the right language, that have the right knowledge, that is passionate, that goes again and again and again to keep that file on the table.
Mm-hmm. And like I just want to say, like, everything that we just discussed around, like, these are very important stuff, and like, it all revolves around engagement. Like as a youth members in our community, like I feel like personally, I felt that I had to some extent a disconnect. Like I was born here, didn't really have much to know. Like me, it was like, okay, I'm Canadian, I was born here, you know. I'm used to the Canadian norms, Canadian culture. It's like, and it's like, so to me, whatever happened in the past is fine. So like, but growing up, like, so that disconnect, that lack of like knowledge and everything, whenever something pops up, I'm just like, oh, it's whatever. And then, but like, when I was given the opportunity to actually understand it, actually put into perspective, this is what made me realize how important it is. Yes. They explain, like, this is gonna be a core memory among Tamil kids, but just going to Tamil class, example, it's such a hassle to get us to go to Tamil class. Yet, it's so important.
Yes.
We go to Tamil class. I was until the age of like 10. Like I refused to go to Tamil class. Yet I know how to speak Tamil, but I had a hard time reading and writing. But I'm like, okay. I asked I'm reading something about Tamil, like Tamil, and then I'm like, okay, this source is in Tamil. How am I supposed to read this? I go show it to my parents. What's gonna happen when they're not here?
There.
Exactly. So like this disconnect is something that we as youth members personally, like we are all like prominent members in the community. Like you're a Tamil teacher, Tamil McGill, we're from Tiska. Like the reason why we started Tiska was because we wanted to give a cultural perspective. This like that moment of realization where like we're the people who have the next generation has to rely on.
Yes.
This opportunity, like this situation is that we have to get rid of that disconnect. We have to create the opportunity for engagement. So therefore, like if we just create these smaller opportunities, who knows? Maybe a kid that I'm gonna meet today, soon one day is gonna be the kid who's gonna pass a resolution to get the ICG to act on the genocide. So like us follow the engagement and stuff like that is, I think engagement among the youth is something that as like growing up and like being people who fight for it and people who are interested in it, we should try to target and we're Tamil. We're a community of resilience. We're a community who remembers our struggles and we stay there and we fight. So like it may be difficult, but we'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and like I'm so proud of all of you guys, right? Like one of the main concerns for like the older generation, they were looking at me is they're like, okay, but after you, Subi, like after your generation, what's gonna happen to the next, right? And I said, Anna, that's why you push Tamil classes, right? Like what did the Sri Lankan government want? They wanted to erase our identity, right? Our culture, our language, us as a Tamil person. And language is like the core of the core, right? Like and Tamil is like one of the oldest language.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so beautiful. Like you read a poem in Tamil, it hits you differently, right? So and I'm like advocate that. Like, you know, like don't like push it on them, like show the beautiness of it. Right, and then and you gotta like be friends with them. You gotta like engage with them and slowly bring them in, and not like be strict on them. Like leave them their space to do what they want and guide them. Right. So that's it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I hope like I will be that for you guys. Like, you know. Like
Most definitely, you coming here today was like honestly one of the best things like that we could have had for this. And I'm saying like Tamil classes, some of this, like all the thing about like people, there's like, oh, stay on Tamil class, you go, it's just, they're forcing it down your throat, just really, yeah, there is that, but like, at the end of the day, like, who else are you going to provide a thing? Like, you're like, Tamil class is something that I think that people tend to like disregard and stuff like that, yet I think it's really important. So as a Tamil teacher, I think you're doing a great job.
It is, you are.
Okay, so fun fact, I never paid attention in class. The only reason I stayed in class was because I had friends. I was the funniest one. He knows because I made so much noise. His class got disturbed next to me.
But like, look at it still. Where are you guys now? You're a president of a Tamil Student Association where you're giving opportunities. You guys are doing so many different things. You guys are doing cultural events. You're teaching Tamil from like, which is ironic saying that you're like.
But I was gonna say like it's because like the only reason I stayed was because I had fun and like
yeah.
like,
Tamil class was fun. I don't know about you guys. I remember stealing like me and Sadibin would steal like Bajindan's sandwiches and we would eat it. Like that was like our fun. And you'll be like, I think I had two, and we would be like, oh, we don't know. You know, like that was like our dynamic, right? Like it was you. I think my mom was your teacher.
Yeah, she was.
I can show you that one over there.
That's crazy.
She's like, you did the student, you know? Yeah. So.
But also with our like the associations that were like Tiska, Tamil McGill, used to be part of Tamil McGill as well. I feel like what's so important is that we're building an identity that it's kind of like a bit separate from our parents. We're building our own stance on Tamil Genocide. We're trying to find our own strategies, like you said, improve strategies. Strategies are more effective.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's so important.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to add, which is really important that I feel we should add, is that yes, we have to talk about this within the Tamil community. First, the Tamil community has to know about everything that we went through. That's the most important thing. But we should also explain this to other communities.
communities.
That's how we
Yeah.
actually raise
100%,
awareness.
yes.
Because if it's all within,
Yes.
yes, it's great that we're all rooted down back to like we're back at our roots. But if other communities don't know about it, like we're not gonna get anywhere.
You're
Speaking
down.
of which, like for example, Rushmi, which was on Tamil McGill, she decided to take the initiative to have Tamil classes at McGill, which was first in its history, and she went on it for 3-4 semesters, which was incredible. She gave the opportunity to other people to learn Tamil that maybe they didn't have, and this is when they're older. Usually when we all went Tamil class, we were maybe kids. Most of us definitely under the age of 17. Rushmi, all of our students above the age of 18. Usually an 18-year-old who doesn't know Tamil is not going to go out to a Tamil class,
Yes,
especially.
yeah.
So it's really nice that she gave that opportunity.
I even noticed one of her classes, it wasn't even all Tamil people. There was
Exactly.
a couple of students that were
Yeah.
not Tamil. That's so
That's
amazing.
funny, yeah.
Like we could be like the new Spanish class or the new new
And
German
that
class,
is-
you know?
That is the goal, right? Like
Exactly, yeah.
eventually to have Tamil language as a semester you could take, and you could like do a PhD in Tamil literature and be the teacher.
Oh, yes.
And like Akash, what you said about like spreading awareness to other communities about what we're going through, the amount of times I've mentioned him to
Oh,
imagine
God,
the
we've had
amount
this
of times
conversation.
we've mentioned Tamil genocide, and they're like, what?
Yeah, so many
Which
times.
civilization is this? And I'm like, okay, we're still alive. Okay, we're not
Still
old.
there, still
We're
present.
still present.
With Tamil classes, it was mainly like to also like find
Raise
a way to
funds.
raise money for Palestine. So I think like you said, right, like 80% of the people that came to Tamil class and paid would not have paid or donated to
Oh, yeah.
Palestine if it wasn't for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Even for
like,
all of our events, like me personally, parties, like yeah, they're nice, but like it's not something that like, I really want. So that's why I switched it up.
I agree.
I switched it up after I took over, where every single event, like the profit, we don't need any of the profits. Let's donate everything we make. So I'm really happy that every single time we have an event, like so far we did it to Swap the World, which increases stem cell donors, ethnic stem cell donors, especially in the Tamil community. We donate to South Asian Women's Community Center, which helps people that come in. Like for example, if your mom that just came in, doesn't know much about like the city, explains everything, gives them resources. We recently with our triphone, which I really like because we got all the 3 different TSAs together, which is nice. Because one thing, especially in our Tamil community, is a lot of times we're not united. Like for example, if someone's doing really well, it's not, oh, I'm so happy that this person that's Tamil is in this position. It's more, how is that person in that position? Or if someone's also doing badly, they're like, oh, look at this person, what did they do? It's never like they're happy for that person, I need to help that person. So it's happy that we got to bring together everyone. We raised a lot of money. We created a lot of wells in different like schools as well, and that's already been done. We have all the pictures of it. So it's really nice. And now our next event, we're donating everything to Balgaham,
Yeah.
which is for blind orphans.
Yes.
So that's great to like do something useful with an event, which it's good. It's good to have the community together, but it's more useful to use those funds to something more beneficial.
Like, that's amazing. You made an event that was made to go party and hang out into something meaningful. And
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and what's really nice is a lot of the performers too, like you see it, like they're like, oh, I'm so happy you're doing this, I'll do it for free. Like you don't have to charge. A lot of times that happens, even big artists, like 2 years ago we had Naz for some completely free, because she said this is a cause I really, and we didn't know about that beforehand. It really means a lot to me. I'm gonna do it completely free. Just take all the fee that you would have paid me, just donate it directly.
Wow.
Which is really nice,
That was
yeah.
Amazing.
So it's nice to like actually do something meaningful in the community.
And it's easy.
Mm.
It's easy. It's
Yeah.
And like I think this just comes back to your point of you acting like you doing this, speaking on like and like donating from like the events that you guys do. It brings an awareness to you who you guys are and then what you guys stand for. So like you guys are doing your part, and that's a great thing. Like you should be proud of. So like these are things that like we should do more. Like and I'm coming back to your point of like standing together as a Tamil community, and I that's one that was another thing I wanted to bring back with the disconnect. Like we're Tamil, like you guys maybe a different scenario because West Island there's a much more strong concentration of Tamil people. Me growing up barely had a few, only family members. That's it. It was not a lot of people. So therefore, I'm like, I didn't have that like community connect. I didn't necessarily like it was like there was not necessarily like a big pop concentration. There's no community events either. So once like this whole aspect of like this disconnected thing, right? So I didn't feel the need to tell people who I was, and people didn't have the need to know who I was. So like in the aspect of like explaining who we are, telling people who we are, and like explaining first, like it's important that we know who we are, like you said, and then it's also important that we explain to who we are as well. So like these things, I just want to come back to the point that you guys are doing a great job. And,
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I'm not going to mention their name, but one of the execs that applied and is now on our team, they put in their application. And the reason I'm applying is because in my, like, I have no Tamil friends, I have no, like, everyone I grew up with, they're all white. Like, I don't know anyone that's Tamil. And then I think at our first, and then obviously, like, I want someone like that because then the reason that they're joining is because they want to meet the Tamil community. I remember at our first event, it's like, oh my god, it was so nice seeing so many Tamil people. It's just nice to see that.
Yeah.
So I was like really happy about that. Like just like bringing people together just to see like there's a big Tamil presence. Like maybe you've never seen it. Because for me, I would see like, okay, all the time. Like I've seen Rishmi in a Tamil class. I see like my friends. Like in my school, there wasn't that many Tamil people, but I'm friends with a lot
Actually,
of
only
Tamil
just
people.
you, me.
There was like 5 people.
We were only like 3 or 4.
4 people, and in school 1,300 people.
Yeah.
So it was like in school no, but like I have a lot of friends. But there's some people that actually have not never seen, but are friends with absolutely no Tamil people, but they want to be friends with.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to bring everyone together. Same thing you guys do with Tiska, for example. Like I remember the first time you reached out, and it was nice to see that he had the confidence, but he also had the trust that he could reach out to the TSAs. They're gonna go and help him. And you got the first opportunity, I think, through Kutam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice.
So like that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like we think that like who am I to say like that? Like we don't think this, but realistically, as a community, we can stand strong together. Like I started Tiska as alone, and then I just slowly grabbed into the friends. I'm only 20, so I've only like the friends I've made throughout these 20 years old are the people that I just grabbed in slowly. They didn't know as much as I did. They knew more than I did. That I knew more as they did. Like depending on the stuff that they did, like they knew on. No, I'm not saying like I'm like there's Tiska members behind the camera as well, but they knew so much more things on certain topics than I did. I knew so much more on certain topics than they did. But the way that we helped each other was, and then once we properly were able to form a big team, we pulled in people like Visali. Visali joined us, and she gave us knowledge that we didn't know before, like that experience and stuff like that. So we have this. I feel like we have this aspect of like our community is able to help each other. We just don't have. We think that it's not gonna happen, but we just should use it. We don't use the resources that we're given.
Yeah, there's always strength in numbers, and if we are united, there's so many different strengths that each person had. That imagine we're all together. Imagine how far we'd come as a community. Like for example, Rushmi again. Like if it was me, there's no chance I'm like hosting a Tamil class because my Tamil is not that great.
Don't say this to my mom.
But like since Rushmi was in in Tamil McGill as an exec, she was able to push that forward. Now if she was never there, there's no chance we would have a Tamil class at McGill. So like having that strength, having diversity really makes diversity, like not just in terms of like skin color or like ethnicity, like actual strengths, different like personality traits. It makes a huge difference. So it'd be nice for together.
I think also like coming back to something you said, dropping your ego. Because when I joined Tamil McGill, I was just VP external, but Akash would listen to all my ideas.
Yeah,
Akash would listen to all my ideas. Tamil class, he said, Rishmi, do it. Like I give you full reign, just do it. And like I was able to also like ask him if I could take other execs to help me with like collecting funds, donating, whatever. When it came to like the events, we actually were part of the team when we weren't really thinking about donating at a point, earlier on. And then we were discussing, and we were like, we made one charity event, which was our first, our Valentine's Day event, our biggest event. And we looked at each other, and we're like, dude, just do this every time.
Yeah.
Just do this every time, because people would be willing to pay because every ticket is a donation. And we feel good doing it because all of our hard work is going towards our people, towards our community. And so
I can give you guys personal feedback. I know a group of people, including myself, I came to your events just because you donated. Mm-hmm. Because I personally, I don't like partying at all. I don't either. For me, it's playing music in my room, dancing, but I'll never dance in public.
Finally, to end off our roundtable discussion, we will invite all our members to discuss the topic of generational trauma and other topic discussed that stems from the Tamil Genocide.
I want to ask you, what are some signs, or what are some, I guess signs is the best way to say it, of having generational trauma that comes from, especially within the Tamil context?
You know, one of the things is like alcohol, right? Like when people go towards alcohol to numb the pain, or they have a hard time expressing their feelings. And you see in even like relationships, you know, like or they're not able to maintain a healthy relationship. You know, they seek validation in the outside world. Like, you know, a lot of the people, you'll be more than surprised that they live a life for others. They do not live for them, because that is what it was, their survival mode, right? Like it's based on like, okay, like I need to perform this, or what will they think, what will this person think, what will the community think. Like they create so much barriers, and like I always tell them, like 100 years from now we're irrelevant. People won't even remember what you did or what you didn't do, right? But what you leave as a legacy is the only thing that will like live on forever. So it's not to be scared to be you, make mistakes, like, you know, like it's to allow to explore every single part of you, the good and the bad. You know, generational trauma, it's like the anxiety kicks in, the depression kicks in, like it's like always in a survival mode. Like I need to get this job, I need to get this done, I need to get that done. It's like, no, live phase by phase, one step at a time, and live that phase well, and like be in the moment, be very mindful of it, right? So especially in households, right? Like things happening in household and you keep it all in and you don't share it. You should have one or two friends that you could go and say, listen, like this is happening with my dad and I don't know what to do, or like I feel like my mom is like shutting down these days, like she's like kind of getting disconnected from us, I don't know what's happening. Like you should have one or two people that you could go to and talk to, right? Like you don't need the whole world. Like all a human needs is like two people, you know, that they could share their emotions with, that two people to advise them, like, you know, like seek for therapy, like, you know, like if you're not comfortable doing that, therapist is there for that. We do not know your world. We only know you for that 50 minutes of our session in that room, and you describe me your world, I function according to what you see. I'm not going to be like, oh no, your mom is so nice. Like, what are you talking about? I don't know your mom. If you think your mom is not being nice, that is your reality, that is what I'm going to work with, right? And I want to see where that comes from. Why do you think she's not nice? Like, so seek for therapists, right? So that's how you break that cycle. If not, it's like, it will be transmitted. Like, oh, my dad used to beat my mom up, I saw that, oh, I get to beat my girl up, like it's okay. Like it's not. Even though you know it's not, your body eventually, like in a conflict, will try to swing, right? And then you'll be like, wait, where am I getting this aggressiveness from? Like, oh, my dad was so avoidant, I'll be so avoidant. You know, my dad was never present in our lives, and like he was kind of disconnected. I will always be disconnected with my relationships. So you have to read the patterns of your parents, things you didn't like, things that affected you, and then change that in your life patterns.
Yeah, I just like to touch on the aspect of, you mentioned a lot of examples of dads, and so like the aspect of like I'd like to bring a male perspective because I'm male, but like I'm just saying, like I see a lot of Tamil men, especially the ones who come as refugees. They keep a lot to themselves. They don't share it. You grow up growing up, you feel that that's what you're supposed to do. That's what your thing. And like I feel that when like passing on a generation, this aspect of like keeping it to yourself, keeping it to them, and like a father not telling or a mother not telling their children what they got through, what they've seen, what they've done, is they believe it's a way to shelter them. But in reality, because they avoid that, they tend to avoid other emotional aspects, other emotional facets of the children's life, and then that ends up affecting the children more negatively than if they actually spoke to them. And like this is something that I feel that it's maybe not people realize it, that it's present in their life. It happens at different stages and different levels. Like some people might have it much more worse than some people else. Like I don't want to say that it's worse, but at higher levels of like however you quantify trauma. But like in the sense that it's just, I think that like the main idea that most people have not talking about it is they think, and it comes back to your point of saying they live a life for others.
Yes.
They think they're helping, but reality, it doesn't really help, and it's more and going more throughout the point between like a refugee of like Tamil Genocide speaking to like the next generation of Tamil community, it goes more to family thing. And I think that that aspect of like when people say that, when people think that, oh, the Tamil genocide does not affect the people who are born in different countries. Like for me, like I've heard so many times that like people say like, oh, how does this affect you? You were born in Canada, you're raised here. Like this, no. Like there's aspects that affect that are just more than just like getting bombed and do that. There's so much more on a mental level, and I think that those aspects, when we don't look at those things, and that's when we tend to let these things slip. And I think that's something that that people tend to forget in intergenerational trauma.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. You nailed it, right? It's pretty much that. Like every action of your parents that was not loving and that was like harming didn't come from them. It came from a traumatic event that happened to them. You know, once we understand that, we could see the world a bit differently. Right? If they if they don't show you affection the way you want them to show you, or like they're not full, they're very adamant of certain things, they're very pushy, or they limit you on certain things, that is when you need to sit down and understand their upbringing, where that came from, and why they're imposing such rules and regulation onto you. And it all deep down in our community, if there's one thing I hope you guys will never go through, that is to live a life for others. Like you have one life, make your mistakes, but learn from it. Your mistakes will be your biggest like teachers. Don't be afraid to try something new and fail. Your failures will be the stepping stones to bigger goals in life, right? So don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be, if your heart feels like it's right and your heart says it's good, go for it. Whatever happens, face it. You know, by facing it, you become much stronger. By facing it, people will respect a person like that. People will admire someone that stands strong on the things he believes is right, stands strong for what he wants and what he loves, right? Like not as someone that disguise and like wears mask and like just wants to please everybody and just like lives a fake life.
Yeah.
Because where's if you're gonna neglect yourself this much, eventually you'll neglect the people you love around you, and you won't treat them right either. And that's what our parents did, right? Like a lot of the times our parents, they wanted to live a life so for the other people, like what will they say, what will he say, and they lived a life to please the society. They neglected their needs, their wants, what was good for them, and what they hurt the most is the people that were very much close to them, their children, right? So you want to be an artist, go for it, right? You wanna try something new. You don't think university is for you? Okay, fine. What is for you, right? There's not just one route to be what you want to be, right? Like you go at things that you think you will flourish, and that is when you will attain your maximum, and that's when you will be so happy. Like me, whenever I go to work, I'm never like, oh my god, work. I'm like, oh my god, oh, I have this client today. I wonder what happened to that last session. Like, I wonder if they worked on this. Like, I'm excited to know the progress of it. And when I see them progress, when I see they come out of the other side, and they come to me, oh my god, Subi, like, you know, a year from like when I met you to now, I see a huge change. And that like fulfillment, like I always tell myself, it's their thing, it's not mine. I shouldn't like take it like, but then inside I'm like, yes, I knew it. You could do it. Like it's like it brings me so much joy that nothing brought that much joy in my life, right? So it's like find your purpose, like find your meaning of life through that, like ikigai, right? That's like a perfect example of like find something you're good at, you're passionate about, and if you could make money out of it, like great, you know, like have a career in it, why not? So yeah. Like, run in politics, guys. Like, many people.
I have a question for you,
Yeah.
and I guess you as well, because you brought up the topic of how, as Tamil men, like, as men in general, but specifically as Tamil men, you struggle to, like, be more vulnerable with your friends, or, like talk about, I guess, generational trauma that, like, maybe you don't recognize, or maybe you don't see, or maybe you do see, but you can't muster up the courage to talk about. Are you doing anything, or what do you do in your little days, or what do you hope to do in your little steps to overcome that, if you're thinking of?
I mean, as like going through it, like I feel like understanding, first of all, like coming to terms that yeah, I have problems like when it comes to speaking up and like being vulnerable is the first step, and I'm still going through that step. And I think that once to pass that, I feel like I'll find somebody to talk to, whether it's another man, another woman, like a woman who's going through the same thing, Tamil person, whether they're not Tamil. Once I get to that phase, and it's gonna be my way of opening up my thing. And I think that my step of understanding that my perspective of not speaking about it is not something that it's like right, and it's not something that it's that then my parent not my parents but just Tamil men in general and Tamil parents are doing in general are like it's not like understanding from their perspective and like why their perspective was like that, and understanding why my perspective was like that is just eventually in the long run just gonna like not be more is gonna be beneficial to, in the sense that it's not gonna make me live a life where I'm always angry. I live a life where I'm always like, this never happened right, this never went this way, this one never went like, I'm never. It's a life where I'm more understanding, and I'm a life that I tend to more become and more appreciate more, a life that I'm grateful for. So like these steps of like understanding it are what I think are the best way that I can get there. It's a slow process, like we'll get there eventually.
I feel like I'm very different in that scenario where, like, when it comes to like not when it comes to emotional things, but usually like if anything like does come that's like a hardship for me, I'm very solution oriented. I'm not like, okay, I'm gonna go and tell people about my problem. I'm just like, okay, this is the problem. I'm gonna write it down how I'm gonna fix it, and then I fix it. And usually like it goes that way almost every single time. Like if anything, it's like I just wanna like rant to my friend. Like I have friends that I could like tell them, but it's not very often that happens. It's like very, very like rare that happens. It's a lot more. That's a lot of the time. It's problem. So like, what are the steps to solution? Do the solution. Continue with my life.
It's a very logical.
A very logical way about it.
Like I think that's just the way how like the brain is. Like I wouldn't even
like I don't think most guys are like that, but I feel like a lot of guys are like that.
But what about the emotional part of it? Right?
It's like we tend to forget that.
Yeah, I tend to forget that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the problem,
that's like in
right?
the back burner. It's like,
Yeah.
but usually I don't let that. It doesn't ever affect me. That's the thing. Or
Not
I don't
yet.
know. I don't know how like
Not
it
yet,
does.
right? Like everything you think, okay, this is it, this is solution, you completely take off the emotional side of it, right? Emotional side is what makes you guys human. Like you see a patient, you'll be like, okay, you have this problem. Okay, so then I guess this is a solution. But if you're emotional, you'll ask like, how many hours do you work? Like, are you sad? Like, what's going on this? And a lot of your chronic illness really stems from mental health, right? Like people going through trauma, like people going through like torture, like or people facing depression, it results in their body giving up, right? So the emotional part, as a physician, you will be the best physician if you're emotional about understanding that.
Actually, now that you said that, that's a very good point. Because before like I guess before med, like I would be very logical. Like I wouldn't like. To me, like if someone's like going through difficulty, I'm like, okay, here's the solution. Like what are you complaining about, right? But actually, like after like preparing for med and everything and going through the process, I do agree. I could see a lot of the emotions in other people. I'm able to understand that.
Yeah.
When it comes to myself, it's still like I'm still at the problem solution.
Solve, yeah.
But no, it's a good point that you did mention that, because a lot of times before, like it would be very like if someone's going through like troubles or like the first thing wouldn't be like, oh, how are you feeling? Like, okay, what is the problem? So this is specific to the issue. Okay, if you do this, it might help. But it wouldn't be like, oh, how are you feeling about it? But yes, after preparing for med, it's a good point you mentioned that. And like after like getting into it, doing the different like cases, even like when I got into med, like for example, the first couple of times the go-to would never be like, how are you feeling? It would be like, okay, this is the problem, this is the solution. But I've learned to like improve myself when it comes to other people.
But you should do that for yourself.
Exactly, yeah,
too,
yeah. It's
you
good.
It's a learning process.
Yes,
we're growing,
absolutely.
and hopefully for the next generation on,
Yeah.
it's not like this.
Like one of the books to read is The Body Keeps Score. It's like it's perfectly explained how the body keeps score of all the traumas and everything, and that's chronic illness, that's depression, that's cancer. Like a lot of it comes from how you feel as a person, right? Like what your brain believes, what your brain sees, what the brain feels, the body reacts. So if you could understand that aspect, you'll see you will heal people without even knowing how you're healing it. Like I had a client come in, she lost her mom, and like every time she would talk, she was like there was like a glitch in her back, and it's like she's like, I can't stop it. They gave me like heavy med, like painkillers and everything. It's still glitching. We went for like few sessions, and then one of my sessions I looked at her and I'm like, you didn't glitch today. She's like, I know, like I've been feeling really better. I think the medication is working. And I'm like, how long have you been taking the medication? She's like, well, prior to you, I've been taking it for 6 months. And I'm like, that's not what it worked. It worked the fact that you dealt with that pain. You know, she was somebody like, she internalized it, was not able to talk to anybody, and her mom died like back in her country, so she didn't have anyone here. And like it was, like her coworker said, you need to go see a therapist. You know, and she didn't believe in therapy to begin with, you know. She just said, I enjoyed talking to you. Like, when I started talking, it was just creating that connection, right? Eventually, we started going in, and that healed her pain more than the medication did. So, keep that in mind.
Yeah, I will.
That's a good example.
Like, when you said, I'm so logical, I'm so this, that was like, you just described me perfectly in intergenerational trauma, right? Like, your dad needed to keep it together in order for you guys to have a best future. So he did his best, and he as a man provided, protected, you know, was a good dad, encouraged. And so you saw that, and he was always a very logical person and sat you down, okay, Akash, this is what you need to do, this is what you have to do, da 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 da. So you started functioning through that, but where was the emotional part in all this, right? And especially when you're gonna have a girlfriend one day, and she's gonna be all emotional, you're gonna be like, okay, so we're gonna find a middle ground in all this, and then we're gonna do this, and she's gonna be like, no, like that's not it. You're gonna have issues with that, because love is full of emotion. It's messy, it's chaotic, it's like going to couples therapy is like, I see the whole dynamic of two individuals coming together, right? And she would be like, do you love me? You're like, of course I do, I'm with you. I never had a like interpersonal relationship with you. Like you're not like my best friend, or you don't come to me with problems. How am I able to like describe that kind of pattern that's gonna comfort you, right? That is what therapy is. Like we see human behaviors and we know what problems you will face in the future, right? So that is why you go to a therapist, you sit down and you handle it, right? So that you don't have to face it this way.
So I guess this is a question for like everyone at the table that I was curious about, so that I could learn. But do you guys do anything to help your parents? Is there anything that you do in your day to day, like maybe like be a friend, help out, or like do something?
I talked to my parents about it. My dad, especially my dad, like I said, the disconnect made me feel like I didn't need to talk about. Like even if he tried to bring the conversation that way, I was like, I don't really need to know about this. But now that I'm asking him, I'm the one who's asking. He feels that he has somebody to talk to. He feels that somebody's able to listen to it. Same thing with my mom. So the aspect of telling them, asking them, like, you know, like what happened there, like what was that, like how did it feel being like they're like you were my age when this happened, like how was this for you? So asking them this, it feels to them, I don't know how they feel, but the way I see it is it's my way of telling them that I'm here to listen about this, you know. If you want to speak about this, you can.
Well, I can, if you want to.
No, go for it.
I was gonna say first, like about it's like not our responsibility, but for sure, obviously we love our parents, we want to help them. But I could say that there is a lot of guilt that comes from that. Like when you see your parents struggle, obviously you're like, oh man, I should do more, you know. But I've learned that you can't help someone that doesn't want to help themselves. So I learned that with my friends, I've learned that with my family, I've learned that with like many people in my life. And sometimes you have to let go of certain things, certain behavior changes that you want in your parents. I'm not saying there's crazy behaviors, I'm saying like certain negative mindset that sometimes you get born, they've had growing up and it comes on to us. But what we can do is give them the space and they can take it when they want it. So what I do is, weekly I take my mom on walks, and a good walk is like it can get deep or it could just be like, oh look at that bird, you know. It could be like both ways, you know.
Give them the opportunity.
Yeah, give them the opportunity to speak, give them that space, make it comfortable, make it non-judgmental for sure. One thing I do is I just step back, even if they say something that I may not agree with, I just stay back. I let them just let it out, and then I'm like, if I see that they're in the process of listening, then I'll talk. But if not, I'll just let them like say it. I know that is kind of a way of giving like therapy to your parents. I'm not saying to be their therapist, but you could give them the space sometimes. And then the second thing is like with my dad, what I do is, since he's the type that if I do probe him on it, he will kind of talk about it. So I do that with my dad. So I talked to my dad about like Tamil genocide, and I want to get his perspective, you know. And sometimes I probe him on it, and one day it actually worked. He told me his whole life story, and that's why I joined this association. Because like by learning about his story, it made me feel more secure in my identity. Because for the longest time, I did not feel connected. No one in my family wanted to talk about it. So in the end, I was just like, I'm Canadian. But no, like now after my dad talked about it, after my mom talked about it, I'm like, okay, I can finally be Tamil, and I'll do what I can by joining like TISTA, and that's something that I do.
You know, like half the therapy that we do is listening. You know, someone to come and really like let it all out. Like if you could be the ears, it helps so much for that person that's like have it all inside. So my mom is not a talker. Like she you know, my mom, she was this Tom teacher. So you know, she's not a talker. She's an introvert. Like we are the exact opposite people. Like I'm the mirror image of an opposite of her. Like I'm an extrovert, she's an introvert. Growing up like as a kid in Germany in refugee camp, my mom was the most strongest woman I came across in this lifetime. She was very stern. She worked 2 jobs. She was a person, a refugee camp we lived in, because they'll displace us from time to time. One of the refugee camp we lived in, so she'll finish work at midnight and she has to walk through the cemetery to get to the refugee camp, and she will walk every night like by herself in across the cemetery to come home, you know. Like she was that kind of person. And like when things will break apart, like my dad was not like, you know, like he had his own problems. I remember once asking her like I was crying, I was like, how come you never cry? And she's like, I don't have the luxury to cry because I need to put the food on the table, I need to take care of you. If I break, who's gonna take care of you? Like that was her mental state. And she always said Subi, like in this world you need to only depend on you. Like you need to build yourself to a point that you could never rely on other people other than yourself. Like so build you. Like, you know, she taught me what it is to live a life happily on your own, so to speak, right? Like my mom never needed anything else but herself to develop and get to the place that she is. So for me, she's like my Iron Woman. Like, yes, we have conflicts, we have frictions, and then every time I'm like, and like, you know, like, you know, it's like, so like I would always like get back to that. But now I see a soft side of her, because finally, like for her, I came to a point that I do well in my career. Like, you know, we're safe, like everything is going well, and I see how she babies my niece and my nephews, and I'm just like, whoa, like what? Like I would have got a beating for that, and you're like, illa paravailla, kottina paravailla, like, you know, and I'm just like looking her soft side, and she gets emotional and she cries, and like, you know, like, and she talks about things. So eventually your parents, when they grow older and they see that, okay, they've reached a point where their kids are safe and everything is good, you'll see their guards go down and they will open up more and more about things about them. And that's when you kind of could step in and be an ear to them and tell them that, like, thank you for everything you did to me. You know, I always tell my mom, like, I don't think I would have survived this without you. Like, I don't think I would have been me without you. Like, everything I do, Mom, that's a reflection of you. Like, you have a huge portion of me, like, in the way you raised me, you know. So I think that, like, it's just to recognize what they have done, listen to them, and like understand them, and like forgive them. Like my mom was like very strict with me, and she like I wanted to be a provincial swimmer, and she said at some point, like, okay, enough with this, like go focus on your studies. And like giving up that for me was a big thing. But looking back at it, like, I get where she was coming from. She's like, even if you go to the Olympics, which is like super hard, but like you're in a provincial level, then you have to go to nationals, then you have to go to Olympics, but then after that, what is your career from there, right? So for me, I was like I understood her intention was in a good place, even though she restricted me at times from doing things. And then I will be the person, if I have a kid in the future, I will be the person for my kid to encourage it all. Like, be what you want to be, like, do what you want to do, right? So whatever they did, the mistakes, forgive them, and make sure you're not that person to your kids. Yeah.
Official thank you to all of you guys. Thank you, Subitha, for being a witness. This is the first roundtable that Discuss is doing for Tamil Genocide, and I don't think this is going to be the last. So you guys are just seasoned growth who are going to grow into a larger tree and like help just achieve the goals that we want to do and help like pass on the torch to our next generation. So I first want to thank you for all being this. You guys,
Yes, thank you guys.
you provided very vulnerable, not very vulnerable, but very valuable insight, and that's something that will go a long and far way, valuable way. So yeah.
Like, we envisioned this roundtable when we were planning it. We wanted to focus on a couple of topics, and I saw how we brought in some really great people that were so passionate about certain topics, and they added their experience, their life experience to the table, and I found it so engaging, and especially our expert witness, like the fact that you came here, you dedicated your time, the amount of work that you do. Rushmi, thank you so much for coming, and Akash, oh my god, thank you so much for coming. We all know how busy.
Yeah.
For sure, and for our next roundtable, we'll definitely try and make it even bigger. I do like the intimate setting that we have now, but yeah, thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you all. Like, you know, thank you for having me. And honestly, like this was one of my dreams. As like, you know, growing up, I would talk to one of my good friend Ruksha. I'll be like, the next generation, Ruksha, what are we gonna do with them, right? Like, where are they at? Like, how are we gonna bring them together? You know? And then she was like, I don't know. So be like, I know, I'm afraid of that too. You know? And I told her, let's just plant seeds here and there. You know, let's just get one or two and like let us develop them. And I was like, we need to be the shelter from the older generation if ever they come off too strong, because we could handle the older generation really well, and we don't want to scare them off. So we want to be the protective barrier and for them to flourish the way they would want to flourish, you know. So I said, don't ever control them, like leave them the space, let them do it, plant them ideas, give them opportunities, make them grow, and like that's how you make a better generation. And like this, like all of you guys, like seeing it, I always tell her, I'm like, oh my god, Montreal's stepping up, like watch out, you know, we're coming, you know, like, and she's like, I can't wait, and I'm like, you'll see, give me a few more years, they're like, we're gonna put it on the map. So I'm very happy. I'm like so proud of all of you guys.
Thank you so much for organizing this. It's really great. Thanks for considering me as well for the opportunity. Thank you for giving me so much knowledge. Not just you, everyone. I'm definitely stepping out of this like a much more knowledgeable person about all the different opinions that we talked about. Thank you so much for everyone behind the camera. You guys are definitely, without you guys, we wouldn't have been able to do this. And yeah, thank you. Like, share, comment, subscribe.
So definitely put that.